Welcome to Hawg Huddle, your weekly opinion-based podcast dedicated to all things Razorbacks. From the highs and lows on the field and court to the biggest stories off of it, we've got you covered. Got a question or topic you want us to tackle? Email us or tweet us your thoughts, and we'll bring them into the huddle. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the latest. This is Hawg Huddle. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of Hawg Huddle. I'm your host, Jesse Thurman. Hope everybody's having a good week. Boy, it sure was a week in Razorback athletics, let me tell you that. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it. We're going to start out with gymnastics. The Gymbacks went to the regional semifinals and made the equivalent of the Sweet 16 in gymnastics with the regional finals. But it all ends there for the team. During the regional semifinals, Frankie Price suffered an injury during her floor routine and was unable to compete in the regional finals. I think that really hurt the team as a whole. And they came up just short of heading to Fort Worth. Great season for the team, though. And confirmed today, Jocelyn Roberson and Maddie Jones will compete for individual titles in Fort Worth. And that all kicks off on April 17th. I believe it's going to be 8 p.m. And I think it's ESPN. I couldn't find anything that confirmed. So hopefully on next week's episode, I'll have a little better information for you on that. Maddie will be competing for her title on the uneven bars, and Jocelyn will be going for an all-around title. Coach Weaver's team continues to make Hog fans proud and looking forward to what they can accomplish in the future. But moving on from that, let's stick to the other residents of Bud Walton Arena, your Razorback men's basketball team. The news, there is no news, in the words of Cal, or in the style of Cal at least. As of recording, nothing's really popped. The only thing we know so far is Big Z's headed to Illinois to play with his brother, and Boogie's declared for the draft. No news on retention, additions, anything like that. Whenever something does pop, I will make sure, and whenever I can get here to my office, I'll get a TikTok out there recording what happened, what my reaction is, and where I think we go from there. Did hear today, one thing I will note, did hear today that Nick Pringle is looking more and more like an option. They just got to iron out that NIL demand. He's asking a lot more than I think most teams probably think he's worth, but he's got experience. He's been to a Final Four with Bama. He's got experience of playing through hard times. He played for South Carolina last year. It don't get much tougher than that. But we'll see what they do there. Still waiting on an announcement from Nate Ament. And then, of course, we're still waiting to find out who's coming back. I really hope that we can get DJ and Billy and Carter and TB and Thero back. I mean, you're missing a big man there, but you got to start and line up with experience. So, really waiting to see what Cal does there. See what kind of team we can get going for next year so they can hit the off season, really get after it, get some strength on the freshmen, get some muscle mass on them, and see what next year brings. Another exciting season of Razorback basketball. With that, let's head right next door to Bud Walton, just across the street in the parking lot over to Bogle Park. Let's talk a little softball. They weren't at Bogle Park this weekend. They were down in old Gainesville, Florida, taking on the number 2 Florida Gators. And Coach Courtney Deifel and her team just earned the highest-ranked series win in program history, knocking off the number 2 Florida Gators. Hogs improved to 28-8 on the season and finally get above 500 in SEC play at 8-7. But that's coming off big series wins. Top 7 series wins, because Tennessee was number 7 when they went over to Knoxville. Florida was number 2. So that's huge for them. Friday night, the ladies got it done 4-1. Lost a heartbreaker in extra innings. The game Saturday went 9 innings. Florida got a walk-off grand slam. And then Sunday, which we'll talk a little more about Sunday's game, Hogs close out the series, take it 9-5, and really looking for them to jump up into the top 10 in the polls. If I'm being completely honest, I think with what they've got going on, teams they've been playing, could see them breach the top 10 this week. If not, after this coming weekend, they've got another top 10 matchup. This time at Bogle, they can handle business against the South Carolina Gamecocks. That should lock them in for a top 10 ranking. But I want to go back to Sunday's game against Florida, and really the whole weekend. I think we need to give a lot of credit to Miss Reagan Johnson. She is a menace in the box, slapping it, bouncing it over them. And if she slaps one down and it hits the ground the second time, she's safe. You're not getting her. She's too fast. But superior speed on the bases, you got to worry about her stealing. You got to worry about her stretching a single when she's sitting on first into an RBI for the hitter, because she will make it home. But it was the bottom of the 6th inning on Sunday. Florida had 2 on, trailing by 1. I'm watching softball on my phone, got baseball on the big screen. And Florida batter, I don't remember who it was, and I could go look it up, but I'm lazy. We'll just be honest there. Gets a hold of one to straightaway center. And as it comes off the bat, I'm like, oh, dang, we're going to be in a hole in the top of the 7th. But Reagan said not on her watch. She sprints out to the wall, leaps up over the wall, and robs a 3-run homer, making sure all the momentum stayed with the Lady Razorbacks as they came up to the plate in the top of the 7th and added on 3 insurance runs to lead to that 9-5 victory. Now, I was kind of disappointed because I really got to watch quite a bit of it Sunday, between glancing up at the absolute beatdown that the Omahogs were putting on Missouri's beer league team, or at least that's what it looked like. It's the Mizzou Tigers, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. Bree Ellis was quiet on Sunday, but it wasn't her fault. Florida was scared of her. She got the Barry Bonds treatment, as I like to call it. 3 intentional walks, and then the one time they pitched to her, they're trying to pitch around the zone, and they hit her. But she is having a historic season for Arkansas softball. So far, 88 at-bats, 44 hits for a 500 average. And we're not just playing getting shape games here. We're into the meat of the SEC schedule. And she is still batting 500. 20 home runs, 58 RBIs, and she's drawn 34 walks. So, something special that she's got going there. Hopefully, teams will quit being scared of her and at least give her a chance to hit. Problem is, they give her a chance to hit, and she does just that. She hits. And when she gets a hold of one, you better hope it's not up in the jet stream, because regardless of which way it's blowing, it's getting out of here. And next up for the Hogs, talked about it a little bit earlier, another top 10 matchup in town this weekend. Friday night, first pitch, 6 p.m. on SEC+. Saturday, first pitch, 7 p.m. That one will be on SEC Network. And Sunday, first pitch, 1 p.m. on the Plus against the South Carolina Gamecocks. They just took 2 or 3 from Ole Miss, and they should be ranked. They were number 10, I believe. I think they're going to come in like 7 or 8 this week, or they may have been 7th or 8th. And heck, they may pass Florida after Florida lost, but who knows? Softball is a little bit harder to keep up with for me personally. I'm not as invested in it as I am baseball, but I do love following our girls and seeing what they can do. Coach Deifel, great coach. Don't want her going anywhere. I just hope UCLA keeps their coach for a long time, because that's one of the few places I could see her leaving Arkansas to go. And for any Central Arkansas listeners, if you're down around the Russellville, Conway, Little Rock area, and you want to see this softball team live and in person, Tuesday night, they will be headed down to take on UCA there in Conway. First pitch is going to be at 5 p.m. So, Central Arkansas fans, you want to see them, you don't want to drive a couple hours up 49 up here to Northwest Arkansas, there's you a good shot to go out and see them. And I'm sure that park will not be able to contain Bree Ellis if they pitch to her either. But that's going to wrap up softball for us here, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the main event. This episode's going a little quicker than I thought it would, but we may spend a little bit of time on baseball. Let's talk about the number 1 team in the country, even if Texas fans, horns down, are crying about it. Arkansas Razorbacks are your unanimous number 1. I was making my show notes and baseball writers wasn't out yet, but as I was getting ready to start my recording, saw it pop up on Twitter. Baseball writers, number 1. Even Perfect Game has decided that, okay, the Hogs are pretty good. We'll give them number 1. Now, the reason I say even if Texas fans are crying about it, Texas fans want the number 1 spot because they just swept, at the time, number 3 Georgia in Austin. So when you look at the resumes right now, you've got big wins, series wins for Texas over LSU and a sweep of Georgia. Both of those were at home, though. When it comes to Arkansas, you swept South Carolina at home, big deal. You swept Mizzou at home, big deal. You did go on the road to Ole Miss, which that opening loss in SEC play, our only loss in SEC play, has aged very well, because Ole Miss has been on a tear since losing that series to Arkansas. They're ranked number 6 in the country. So we have a road series win against number 6. And then Vandy took care of Florida this weekend. I believe that was down in Gainesville. So they're hanging in there at number 17. So we have a road sweep of number 17 and a road series win at number 6. 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Really, if I take out my bias for Arkansas and my hatred of Texas, flip a coin 20 times, winner gets number 1. Let's hope both these teams, normally I would not wish success for Texas, but I hope both these teams keep on going, because here in just a couple weeks, Texas is going to have to come to Baum Walker. I'm already trying to acquire the funds and make finances work so that I can go to all 3 games. I've already requested off work the Sunday after. That way I don't have to go into work absolutely drained from a weekend at the ballpark. But I am going to try to make all 3 games against Texas at Baum Walker. And that's going to be some of the best baseball of all season in college baseball. At least all signs point towards that right now. But let's jump into what happened this weekend. The Hogs absolutely demolished, curb stomped, whatever belt to behind, however you want to put it. They handled business this weekend. It was a crazy weekend. The weather up here was horrible, cold and rainy, storms on Friday, cold and rainy Saturday. Heck, it started snowing when I came home from work on Sunday. So, gives you an idea of the weather. Hogs end up playing a game on, excuse me, Hogs end up playing a game Saturday at 4 and then a doubleheader Sunday, which made it 7 inning games. But let's be honest, there wasn't a single game that went past 7 innings. Arkansas only got 18 innings worth of at-bats in this series and put up 51 runs, including multiple grand slams on Sunday. 51-9 was the final for the series. The Hogs win Saturday in 7, 21-3. First game of the doubleheader, 14-4. Second game of the doubleheader, 16-2. And let's talk about Cam Kozel and the amazing season he is having. Saw it right before I started recording today. Even checked the website to make sure I wasn't missing the co attached to it. But no, there's no co. Cam Kozel is the one and only SEC Player of the Week. Right now, he's leading the team for the season in batting average, and just a spectacular weekend at the plate. In the series finale, the second game on Sunday, he hits a double, a 2-run homer, and then put one off the building for a grand slam. Like I said, he leads the team in batting average. He's sitting at 417 on the season. And while we're talking about leaders, we'll jump over to RBI leader. That's Brent Iredale. He's got 45 on the season. And after this weekend, there's a new home run leader. He's hitting 400 on the year, got 37 RBIs. And I just told you, Brent Iredale has 45, so it's not him. Vaheva Aloy, you say? No, not him either. Kahio Aloy, maybe? Nope, not any of the Aloy brothers or any of that. It's our leadoff hitter, Charles Davalon. Has 11 home runs on the season. In the first game on Sunday, he decided to have a 2-home run game. And I guess he gave Cam Kozel the inspiration to do it in the second. But he gets a 3-run shot and a grand slam. So that was your 2 grand slams on Sunday. And he leads the team with 11 home runs in the leadoff spot. And anybody who says cold weather areas can't produce baseball players, this is our Canadian outfielder we're talking about here. We have a very diverse team this year. We got an Australian, we got a Canadian, we got 3 guys from Hawaii. I mean, I guess Dave Van Horn figures that's going to be his vacations, is going out on the recruiting trail. But in all seriousness, love to see what this team's doing. Love to see just good baseball. All the Nate Thompson haters, you ain't got much you can say this year. Heard Andrew Ellis say it on his recap Sunday night. We just needed the guys that could perform. We were missing the guys that had that extra little oomph about them last year. And last year's team was a great team. This year's team, I haven't followed Razorback baseball as closely as probably some of my listeners. But for a few years, I'd kind of catch them when I could on TV, listen to them on the radio when I didn't have anything going on. But the past couple of years, and especially getting to go spend time at the ballpark, this is my favorite sport on the hill now. But this is hands down some of the best college baseball I've ever seen. I just hope they can keep it up because I know it doesn't matter until we hit the postseason, but boy, it sure is exciting to watch now. Now, back onto the players. The Alloy brothers and Iredell still doing great, but there's no way you could have convinced me coming into this season that after week 8, our two best bats would be a Vandy transfer and a Canadian outfielder. And neither one of these guys are very big. This isn't your big 6'3, 6'4, 230, 240 type player. These are just average guys out there that love the game of baseball, that put in all the work required, and all that work, they're now seeing the reward for it. And this isn't because there's so many factors that could lead to non-traditional leaders and hitting on the team. No, this team's just beating the dog crap out of everybody pretty much. And they're just killing it at the plate. So after this weekend, Diamond Hogs improved to 30-3 on the season, and they're tied with the Longhorns, horns down, at the top of the SEC standings at 11-1. Next up for the Hogs, A-State comes to town Tuesday night, 6 p.m. first pitch. And this game will be on SEC Network. And then it's off to Athens, Georgia for a matchup against the wounded Georgia Bulldogs. They were number 3. They got swept by Texas and Austin this past weekend. Now they're number 7. But a wounded dog is a dangerous dog. And this is one of the few offenses that could be considered better than the Razorback offense this season. But I'm going to throw out a few observations that I noticed over the weekend. Just my little opinions. This is an opinion-based podcast. I'm sure I'll get some messages. Oh, no, I don't agree with that. No, it's this. No, it's that. You know who you are. I look forward to the text at 3:30 in the morning on the way to work talking about the podcast. Vaheva Aloy gets his bat back going strong on Sunday. Glad to see him getting some hits. He was a menace to Mizzou pitchers. They could not get him out. Kahio Aloy, he had a few nice hits, couple RBIs, but he didn't seem to be seeing the ball as well. Struck out looking a few times, struck out swinging a couple times. There were a lot of strikeouts by Kahio this weekend. But let's all remember, these are guys from the islands where it stays pretty much temperate weather year-round. If you think back to last year, Vaheva didn't do all that great when it was 40 degrees outside. Granted, his brother was at BYU last year, but we're going to blame it on the weather, see what happens from here. Brent Iredell, he gets him a home run in SEC play. Had a couple good hits, and once again, multiple times this weekend, Brent Iredell hit by a pitch. Or Brent Iredell walk. He's got great eyes at the plate, draws a lot of walks, and for some reason, opposing pitchers just like throwing the ball at him. I don't know if they hate Australians, what the deal is, but this guy, he reminds me of when I was a kid watching Craig Biggio play for the Astros. That's how often he gets hit. Next up on my list here, Nolan Souza. That bat's still heating up. It's smoldering. He's getting there. Right now, he could be considered the worst hitter on the team, at least out of the starters. He has the worst average out of all the starters. Did start out the season 1 for 23, so he started out in the hole on batting average, but he's getting there. He had some good hits, good plate appearances. Just steadily breaking out of his slump, and I hope he continues this trajectory. I'm sure the rest of Hog fans also hope he continues this trajectory, because if you get his bat going, And then you've got the Caboose gang down there with Helfrich, Souza, and JT. JT had a little bit of a rough weekend too. Had a couple good hits. Had a good sack fly in one of the games. You can't ask for much more than that from the bottom of your lineup. Our Caboose gang, I'm sure a lot of people would love to have hitting 4, 5, and 6. Maybe not 4, 5, and 6. Maybe 5, 6, and 7 on their starting lineups. Pitching this weekend, Zach Root continues to look good on the mound. As far as I'm concerned, he has solidified his spot as our Friday ace. No reason to mess with it. Had that one bad game against Ole Miss. Since then, solid outings, 5, 6, 7 innings. Keeping production for opponents at a minimum. Glad he decided to venture away from Eastern Carolina and come on over here to Arkansas. Sunday, game 1, Gabe Gackle got the start. Solid outing. First inning was rough. But I think more of that falls on the defense. You had an uncharacteristic error by Nolan Souza, his second of the year. Still, amazing defensive team, not knocking them. But I kind of stretched the inning out. It was a little off in that first inning. After that, though, he settled in, had decent command, getting things done. And for the second game Sunday, I will call him Battle Cheese again. Landon gets out there. Good start. He's holding down the fort while Gage Wood rehabs and gets ready to come back. I did not have a chance to watch DVH's press conference updating on injuries, but I did not see any post on X. Nobody blowing up my text or my feed with Gage Wood's coming back against Georgia. So no solid update on him or Parker Coyle. Hopefully they'll be back soon. But the way I see it is we're performing just fine without them. It's not a knock on them, but I think DVH is just trying to make sure they are completely healthy and ready to come back. No reason to rush it when we have pitchers on our staff that can handle the workload until they're ready to come back, because I'd much rather wait till Florida or Texas weekend to get them back and them be fully ready to go than try to rush them back for Georgia and then definitely not have them for Texas or LSU or Tennessee. Another pitcher that I was very impressed with this weekend, Christian Fouch. I've been hard on Christian Fouch this year. Every time he got in the game, seemed like he had a heat-seeking missile that hit batters. He didn't hit anybody this weekend. Looked solid on the mound in the process. I want to say we were up by 10 or 12 runs when he got to pitch. So not a high leverage situation. But maybe it's the outing he needs to kind of reset mentally, get back in his flow, in his aura, or whatever you will want to call it. But hopefully that just sets his mind right, kind of a reset on the season, and get him back to come in and be a crucial setup guy for the next pitcher I'm going to talk about, Carson Wiggins, who closed out game 2 on Sunday, or the second game of the day on Sunday. He's throwing flames, and then he'll back it off with a mid to upper 80s breaking ball. Hitters don't know what's coming, can't react to it. You set on the breaking ball, you're never going to catch up with the fastball. Set on the fastball, he throws a breaking ball. Even if you can line it up, you've got to slow your swing down so much. There's not time. It's not physically possible, I don't think. And Brandon, I know you're going to argue with me. And yes, you played higher level baseball than I did, but that's still tough. When you're geared up waiting on 99, 100, 101, and 87 comes floating in, that's a big difference. But like I said earlier, I know all this means nothing until postseason, but I really like the trajectory of this team and the production we're seeing at the plate. Huge series this weekend against number 7 Georgia. And then it just keeps coming after that. The next 6 series, you got number 7 Georgia this week. Then you got the unranked Aggies, which just knocked off the, at the time, number 1 Tennessee Volunteers. Then you go to Gainesville to play Florida, who is unranked. They're 1-11 in SEC play. I don't know what's going on down there. I hadn't got to watch them. It's Florida baseball, though, and I'm just scared they're eventually going to find their groove, and I'm scared it's going to be against Arkansas while we're in town. And then the real meat grinder starts. You get number 2 Texas at Baum Walker. Then you head to Alex Box to play number 3 LSU. And then we're going to close out the season with number 5 Tennessee. So, yeah, your final 3 weeks are number 2, number 3, and number 5. Luckily, 2 of those are at Baum Walker. But your away series is LSU. You got to go to Alex Box and deal with LSU fans. The SEC definitely put TV ratings ahead of friendliness in this scheduling. This schedule's just unreal. But all you can do is play the team in front of you, which is what the Hogs did this weekend, and they just happened to play them 51-9 over 21 innings. Before I wrap up baseball, I did see something last week. I almost made a TikTok on it, and I didn't, and I should have. But I also want to make sure I mentioned it here in the podcast. So D1 baseball done kind of like a Road to Omaha bracket teaser middle of the season. So of course that was interesting. At the time we're ranked number 2. So I'm like, okay, who do we got in the Fayetteville regional? Couldn't tell you 2 of the 4 teams because I saw one team and I got excited. Fayetteville Regional had the Kansas Jayhawks coming to town as part of that regional. And my first thought was, if that comes true, that could be 3 sports that we end the Jayhawk season with a loss. We beat them in football, took care of business there. Knocked them out of the big dance in basketball, took care of business there. What better than to send them packing from our regional to advance to a super regional and Kansas be on the losing end of that? To me, that would just be an awesome close to the battle with Kansas in the 24-25 athletic season. But that's about all I've got for today. I'm going to do a quick check of Twitter before I stop. Here's an interesting Razorback Communications just tweeted this a few minutes ago, and this is pretty interesting. This year, 5 Arkansas programs have been ranked number 1 in this athletic year: baseball, soccer, women's golf, women's indoor track, and men's indoor track. Track, no surprise. Not surprised one little bit. But that is pretty awesome for 5 programs. Unfortunately, the one program or 2 programs missing, football and basketball, but the time will come for basketball. Football, we'll have football, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Make sure there's nothing else interesting here. Cam Kozel player of the week, like I said. But that's going to do it for me. Hope everybody has a good week. It's supposed to be good, warm weather this week. Get outside, do something fun. Get outside, watch the truck if nothing else. That's what I'm going to do after work tomorrow. Get outside and watch the truck. Just enjoy being outside. It's supposed to be 70 and sunny. Can't beat that. But as always, stay safe. Have a good week. And in closing, woo pig! Let me take this opportunity to say thank you for listening to Hawg Huddle this week. Make sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Tell your friends and follow us on socials. We're on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.